Hey there everyone, and I thank you guys so much for tuning in to yet another episode of My Orchid Adventures with me, Maria Young. So in today's episode, I want to share with you one of my most major mounting projects ever. I am telling you, I have never mounted so many orchids in my life, but indeed I felt that I had to do so. And I have had a very unfortunate time with certain orchids. One in particular was the Cattleya, and you guys know I absolutely love Cattleyas, but I had done so poorly with them that I was at wit's end. And I have to tell you folks, I really thought that I was going to give up on the beloved and very beautiful Cattleya because I just believed that I could not grow them. But folks, I want to share this with you, hoping to inspire you as well, to let you know just because you have an orchid that is not growing well for you doesn't mean that it can't grow well for you. Now, of course, there are certain ones that can't grow well for you, and that is why I'm telling you, please do your research. Please investigate the type of orchids that you are getting before you purchase them. Don't let your heart lead the way. Let your mind lead the way, okay? Because that can be disastrous as well. But a lot of times we purchase orchids that say they can grow in our climate, but for some reason it is not growing well. Well, I have to tell you, sometimes it's not the fact that in your area it can't grow, but perhaps you are growing it wrong, or perhaps because of the type of grower you are, you're not capable of abiding by the requirements that it needs. So yes, indeed, it is quite a trial and error process. You are going to have to go on a journey and find out different methods and different techniques that may work for you. And that is what's leading me to this direction, this journey right now. I definitely have to find a way, and you guys know I always say, if there is a will, there is a way, and I did not want to give up on my beloved Cattleyas. So indeed, I decided to do this mounting project, but not just with Cattleyas, but with a variety of different orchids. So this is kind of an experiment process, and we're going to see exactly if it works. And this right here, folks, is my mounting project basically in a nutshell right here. And as you guys can see, I do have quite a variety of different types of orchids that are being mounted. Now, of course, you have to know that these types of orchids that I have elected to mount are epiphytic orchids, meaning that they are commonly known to grow on trees and also other vegetation, making them prime candidates for also mounting as well. And because they weren't doing so hot in a pot indoors, I decided to bring them outdoors so that they could enjoy the wonderful weather that we have here in Florida. But the very unfortunate thing about Florida is we do receive some very torrential storms, and during our rainy season, that indeed is quite an understatement. And that is where mounting orchids can prove to be quite a benefit in my weather conditions. Now, of course, this means that we're going to have to treat and take care of our orchids a bit differently. We're actually going to have to water our orchids quite a bit more frequently, especially with the lack of the pot or container and the lack of the same type of media. And being that I already grow a wide variety of my orchids already outdoors, including my vandas, it is not going to be an issue at all to water my orchids right here on a daily basis if need be. So now let's take a closer look at the way that I've elected to mount and display these orchids. Now, not too long ago, I did do a video in regards to how to save money and how to buy more orchids. And that's actually the very first time that I talked to you guys about my major mounting project. And that's also the video where I showed you these items that I did get that I'm using for my mounting project. Now, if you guys did not see that video, I would recommend that you watch it right now because, of course, I did show and share with you some great tips. So go ahead and click on that link right there and it'll take you to that video. So do you guys remember these wooden mounts that I'm using right here? These are actually wooden plaques that are used for arts and craft projects, and I bought them for less than 50 cents each at a garage sale. I also have some pieces of wooden material that, as you can see here, this Cattleya is mounted on. Now, I'm also using some little logs to mount some of these orchids as well. These particular mounts right here I received from Tom Ritter's Orchids. And I'm also using this beautiful orchid mate container right here, and this is allowing me to do a semi-mount because, as you can see, there's that nice huge backing which will allow this orchid to mount or climb upon this wooden surface. But as you see here also, there's a half moon container that also allows that orchid to sit in. But you're noticing a whole lot of area right there that's going to allow air and also water to filter through. So that is why I'm calling this the semi-mount pot right here from Orchid Mate. And if you guys want to check them out, you can check them out at orchidmate.com. And now let's talk about the shelf unit that I'm using to display these mounted orchids. This also was featured on that video that I mentioned about saving money and buying more orchids. This is actually the CD holder, folks, that I purchased for only $2. And oh my gosh, what a multi-functional shelf unit this is. Because as you can see here, you can display your orchids front view. But of course you can hang them to the side as well. And let's not forget to mention that you can also hang them on the back. And because these actually have some inner shelves as well, if we take a close look, you can also hang them from within the actual CD shelf. So even though this is quite a space saver, this also provides you quite an amount of orchid space to hang your mounted orchids. So now let's take a look at the different varieties of orchids that we have mounted here today. And let's go ahead and get the orchid mounting party started by showing you the actual orchid right here. This Cattleya that started the entire frenzy. Now, I had this orchid for an entire year with no substantial root or new growth at all. And as a matter of fact, the only difference I seen in the orchid was a sad and major decline. And I have to tell you, a couple of months ago, I actually thought this was on its last legs. I thought that this indeed was on its first class flight to orchid heaven and was going to be the straw that broke the camel's back because it was in dire need of a rescuing, one that I thought would not be successful. But I have to tell you, I've seen several of you guys do some mountings on your Cattleyas and you have been successful, so indeed I wanted to give it a shot. Why the heck not? And so I did. And let me tell you folks, oh my gosh, can you see these new roots right there? Can you see it? Look at all of that root. Look, look, look. Oh my, everywhere. Here, there, and everywhere. But not only roots, folks, I want to show you, look at these new growth. 1 and also 2. And if we flip it right here, there's going to be a dark spot right there. And that indeed is a nubbin as well. So I would definitely say this mounting right here was quite a revival, a restoration, and also a success. And here we have a Dendrobium latoria right here. This is my Oncidium burgundian number 2. And right here is a Brassivola Jiminy cricket. And this right here is an Oscasenda March How crossed with a Vanda Liam Sing. My Maxillaria piccata right here. And this mounting right here is my Cattleya Golf Green Hair Pig. And check out all of those roots right there. Definitely having a dandy time mounting on this log and doing exceedingly well. And here's a wonderful mounted orchid, this Metassia Royal Robe. And right here we have a Bulbophyllum macranthum. And if we take a close look, it is in bud. And right here we have a Maxillaria variabilis. Very beautiful Francis Scott sunspot. Here's a mounted Oscasenda rumorel. And this one right here is a Taiwan Gold crossed with a Jumbo Jewel. And if you take a close look, indeed you will see that this is a catasetum type orchid. Now, of course, you don't see a lot of catasetums that are mounted, but you have to know that catasetums are normally found growing on plant vegetation and also on trees. So indeed, they can be mounted as well. Now, as far as how well will they grow, we'll have to find out, won't we? So please stay tuned for more on this one, as this is my first catasetum mounted. And this one right here in particular is an Oncidium Tiger Crow. And this right here is another Oncidium type of orchid. This came with no tag. I did purchase it at a garage sale. So indeed, this is a UFO, unidentified yet still very fabulous orchid. And this Cattleya right here I received from a dear friend and a viewer, Quadra. And if we take a look right here at the tag, we are going to see it's a Laelia purpurata variable carnea crossed with a Laelia purpurata variable type. And I am so very sad to admit I can't quite recall what this orchid right here is. I did lose the tag, but this is some form of Radican, Racostolic, something. And I actually call this my fairy orchid because the blooms are so teeny weeny, smaller than my pinky nail, but they are so beautiful and dainty, reminding me of little fairies dancing in the wind. And some of you guys may remember this particular Dendrobium aggregatum right here. If you followed my earlier videos, you would know that this is actually one that I decided to divide. Well, now they are reunited once more, and they actually are pretty big. And I'm hoping that they fill up this entire log right here and become quite a specimen. And I'm hoping for once they will finally bloom. So fingers crossed on this mounting project right here. And this one right here is a Vanda Josephine Van Brero crossed with a Pat Delight Blue Spots. And indeed, this is one of my most successful and healthiest mountings right here. As you can see, all of these beautiful roots that have successfully attached itself onto this log. Definitely beautiful, and I cannot wait until this beauty blooms. And here's yet another bulbophyllum that I mounted a while back, and this is actually a log that I just propped into one of my bushes here, and as you can see, it is in bloom. And here's yet another one that I directly mounted onto a branch right here. And this is a Dendrobium capitiflorum. Please, 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 kids, do not try this at home. Yep, you guys have guessed it. This is one of my unsuccessful mounting experiments right here with this unfortunate bulbophyllum. And indeed, I have mounted it on what you see here, which is a pine cone. And although it has survived, and if we take a look right here, do you see that? Let's take an even closer look. That is a new growth right there, but indeed this right here is a lot more hassle than it is worth and is what I consider a unsuccessful mount. Boo! And this one right here is a pre-mounted orchid. This is exactly how I got it. This is a miniature Vandaceous orchid already mounted up and is called the Gastrochilus. So indeed, I never got a chance to feature it, so being that it's mounted, I decided to feature it right here in its double spike. You guys see that. And here's yet another one that never got its chance to shine. So indeed, being that it's mounted, here I am. And check out this orchid right here. Very interesting. I wish I could tell you what it is. But as of right now, it is a UFO because I lost the tag. And if we take a close look right here, you are seeing the overlapping leaves. Kind of reminds me of a fulcata. And if we take a close look right there, you see that white dot? That is one bloom. Hopefully she'll have other blooms, as this normally would bloom fully, and you would see nothing but white and green blooms. So indeed, fingers crossed, folks. And here is another mounted Cattleya type of orchid. This was actually originally mounted to my tree, but I thought it'd have a better chance if I went ahead and put some moss around the roots as well and mounted onto this log. And as you can see, there's one new growth, two new growth, and coming over here, that is the third new growth. So indeed, she agrees with me as well. Oh, is this another one? Yes, another new growth. So yes, this is doing quite well, and let's take a look at what it is. It's a Cattleya Madi Spot crossed with a ERT, Kevin Mark, Ragbur, Pinky, and indeed, that is what it is. And here's a Cattleya right here, the Cheetah Pointer, and believe it or not, this has been mounted on some Tillandsias. Oh my goodness. As you can see, these roots are fully intertwined upon these Tillandsias right here, but no harm, folks, even though this is a community pot, because the roots on the Tillandsias just act as an attachment, just so it can attach to plants, but it does not receive any type of its nutrients from the plant itself. So even though these are intertwined together, they will not harm each other. So indeed, good plant to accompany your orchids. And look at here, it is in spike and soon to bloom. And just in case you guys wanted to know exactly how I mounted these orchids, of course I used the wooden plaque or wooden surface, and as you can see, I added sphagnum moss to keep the roots a little bit more moist. And right here you are seeing that very thin wire that I also use. Very easy to maneuver and wrap around whatever surface you need, and just a lot easier than using the string, for me at least. And that is basically what I did, just as simple as that. And if we turn around the wooden mounting right here, you are going to notice that nail that I hammered right through the wood, and then I went ahead and hammered it downward. And for the type of shelf unit that I have, it really makes it a cinch to go ahead and attach it to the shelf, and of course you are seeing that it really does hold sturdy. I do have to tell you folks, I am so extremely excited about my mounting adventure, because as you guys know, our orchids are so precious and we just want to grow them the best way that we can. So indeed, fingers crossed folks, and stay tuned for more. And that, my friends, is a complete orchid mounting wrap. Now I definitely want to hear from you guys. I want to know what your opinion is on my orchid mounting adventure. Do you think it is a hit, or do you think it is a miss? Also, I want to hear from those that have successfully mounted. Do you guys have any ideas, some tips and suggestions that you can share with us? Because you guys know, the more that we know, the more that we can definitely grow, and we learn so much from your experiences. So please be sure to share your comments below. And if you guys like this video, thumbs up already. And if you want to stay tuned to the latest and greatest adventures, then subscribe. And if you want to join me on Facebook, My Orchid Adventures on Facebook. And if you want to write me or perhaps send me something, you can do it with the address below. I thank you guys so much. You guys already know I truly do love you guys all. Mwah, 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 mwah. And